Welcome to the Lady Landlords podcast, where we empower women to gain financial freedom through real estate investing. I'm your host, Becky Nova, founder of Lady Landlords. If you're ready to buy, manage, and grow your real estate investing portfolio, then let's get started. Welcome back to today's episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. I am your host, founder of Lady Landlords, Becky Nova, and today joining me, we have Miller Kerner, who is a mindset coach and also a clinical hypnotherapist. And we're going to be talking all about the mindset that you really need to be the most confident lady landlord you can out there. So, Katie, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I feel that as much as we as real estate investors can be going out there and like doing the things, the tangible things that we need to, I think it's so important for us to really kind of think about how we can mentally prepare ourselves for doing those things. It's not just the math, it's not just the dollars and cents that we need to think about in real estate investing, but really kind of the whole package that we are as women. So I think this is a great topic to dive into, especially as we're setting ourselves up for 2024. So I appreciate the time. I would love if you could just maybe share with our listeners just a little bit about you, who you are as kind of the woman behind being a mindset coach.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. I have kind of a long journey of how I got here. And, there's a reason why I became a mindset coach is because I was struggling heavily with anxiety and this work changed my life. And then I got 5 certifications and all of that. So I have a heavy background in fitness. Over 10 years in the fitness industry, I was coaching, I was modeling, I was a professional bodybuilder. And then something just wasn't adding up. And I started to have panic attacks, anxiety attacks regularly. And then I got into personal development and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is this stuff? My life has changed. And then I started integrating that into my fitness coaching. And I started to see so many results in my clients. And it's like, okay, something is here. I really want to get into mindset coaching. And so then I got 5 certifications and the rest is history.
Thank you. That's such a cool journey, and I love that it's in a very similar space of what we're gonna be diving into today, is it's not just the thing that's actionable or necessarily how we identify ourselves, but really starting to think about kind of the overall picture of who we are. So I love that that was really a journey that you also went on.
Absolutely.
So let's define what a mindset coach is. Because to me, it sounds very, very much in the space of either a therapist, social worker, psychologist, something there. But I would just love if you can give us clarity on what mindset coach really means.
Yes. I love this question because before, when I was a fitness coach, I thought a life coach was just someone telling you what to do in your life. And that's why I put myself as like a mindset coach and a life coach. But I don't want people to think I'm just there telling them what to do. It's much different. So for mindset coaching, we focus on the present and the future, and we dabble a little bit in your past. Whereas therapy, you're focusing all on your past. And so we're focusing on where you're going, how we can propel you forward. And then we're also going to dive into your limiting beliefs. What beliefs are going on in your head that are limiting you from achieving what it is that you say that you want? Because you can say you want these things and you can actually achieve them. But if you don't believe you're worthy of either A, achieving them or maintaining them, it's not going to happen. So we need to see what's going on in your brain and then take intentional action from there.
That really is a great description, especially how you kind of went through the idea of we're really talking about present future versus really therapy, which is a lot more diving into the past. So that's a really, really easy way to think about that. So you mentioned that you have multiple certifications in this. Can you just share a little bit about what those are? Because that seems so cool that there's like multiple levels and really what you can kind of be doing within mindset coaching and then also being a hypnotherapist. Can you share a little bit more about the other certifications?
Yeah. So obviously, the one I've mentioned a lot is clinical hypnotherapy because I've had really good results with my clients with it. It's probably my favorite certification. So, life and success coaching, NLP, which stands for neuro linguistic programming. So, it's how language works within your life, your mind. So, clinical hypnotherapy, life and success coaching, NLP, time techniques, and then Transcend Academy certification.
Got it. And you focus primarily with women as well, correct?
Yes, I do.
What is, if any, a common theme that you see in the women that come to you?
Have you heard of feminine and masculine energy?
Yes.
Okay. So, for your audience, a lot of people have not heard of feminine and masculine energy, right? You think it has to do with gender, and it has nothing to do with gender. Feminine energy is kind of like surrender, trust, knowing that you're supported, and flow. Masculine energy is like go getter, make that to do list, let's go, go, go. A
Mhm.
lot of my clients come to me because they're high achievers and society has placed us in this like very masculine energy. But in order to thrive and actually achieve what it is that you want, you need that feminine energy too. So it's about balancing that, bringing a little bit more of that feminine energy back so you can be balanced with the feminine and the masculine energy.
I think that is really important. And one caveat that I want to reiterate that you already said, but this is also not saying that that we need to live in feminine energy, which is more docile or weak or anything of that. It's really just making sure that we are balanced people, and men can also have feminine energy and masculine energy just as a woman can also have both, right? So I just want to make sure that's clear that we're talking about it once again in a way that's not gender related. It just is the words that are really kind of associated with that. So you feel like a lot of the people that are coming to you are more of those high achievers, but living a little more in the masculine energy and really need to increase the amount of feminine energy that they have. Is that correct?
Yes, and a common theme is fear. Fear overtakes their life. I've seen that trend with the high achievers, and so just helping them lean back into trust, and it's an art. Somebody can't just tell you to surrender and you're just gonna relax. When someone tells you to relax, you're not going to relax. It's an art, it's a process, and so that's kind of that process, and you're very right. You don't wanna lean too far into that feminine energy. You need that balance. So you can still very much be a go-getter, but
Mm.
leaning a little bit into trust that you're always supported, that you got this and things will work out. And the energy that you put out, you're going to receive back. So if you're trying to attract something in your life, like this goal, real estate, like anything you're trying to attract in your life, if you're putting out an energy that you don't think you can attract it, you're going to
Mm.
receive that. So it's important to have that trust as well as the tangible to-do list.
All right, we're gonna have to break this down. There's a couple concepts you have in there that I feel like I've looked into as somebody that really enjoys kind of that personal development space. But before I kind of entered that, there were a couple things that you were kind of saying in there that I would have been like, bullshit, or just I don't understand it, or like it's just so like kind of not me. And what we're talking about here within just the concept of fear to kind of start with right now. This is something I hear all the time in Lady Landlords, right? I get to talk to these intelligent women every single day. They're like, well, I know how to do my market research and I know how to do a deal analysis and I know how to do these things. I'm like, great. So then what's holding you back from going out and just getting that property and just going and pulling the trigger and being able to buy it? And the number one response I always get comes back to fear. So when we talk about that idea of attraction, right? What you want to attract is really kind of the energy that you have to be able to put out. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I feel like there was a Netflix special about the law of attraction, probably like 5 years
Mhm.
ago now. But I feel like it's still really a concept that we don't see very much. And how can people position that to even put out into the universe the things that they should be attracting?
I'll give you one of my favorite examples is if you think about a partner who is constantly nagging their partner to propose over and over and over. How's that partner gonna feel? I mean, they don't wanna propose because they feel tight, they feel smothered, they can't just relax into the energy. And then when you think about a really pushy salesperson, that energy they're putting out, the person feels smothered and can't think for themselves and have a moment to breathe. So the energy you put out, you're going to receive back. But I want to tell you a little bit about the subconscious mind and how everything really comes back to your beliefs. So our subconscious mind is responsible for approximately 90% of our actions. Usually it's tied to some sort of belief that is in your subconscious mind that you're not aware of. And so that's 90% of our actions. And so really it's just coming down to creating awareness around this belief that's holding you back. And that's creating fear in your life. Like, what are you afraid of achieving once you hit this goal of yours? What are you afraid of happening in your life once you achieve this goal of yours?
It's interesting you say that because I feel like I've always wondered when women tell me that it's fear that's holding them back. I've always kind of wondered if it was more of a fear of failure, that they're not going to be successful. And then it's either hurts their ego or whatever that may look like, or if it's actually a fear of being successful and that they actually
Mhm.
accomplished it. And now they're kind of in a different place. And that's sometimes a whole new world to kind of have to be in to say, well, hey, now I accomplished this, but how does that now change who I am or what I'm going to do next? Do you feel like that's what you see as well?
Yeah, it's really change. Like people fear change. It's human nature to do patterns over and over. So, what we feel comfortable with, that's why it takes a little fight to create new habits. You're literally building new patterns in your brain. It's the fear of change. And it's like, okay, if I'm successful, if I do achieve this, does that mean I'm never going to get time with my family? So you have to kind of break it down. How can you have both and
Do you,
really create that safety in your nervous system?
when you had said that humans in general, we just don't like change, are people just all of a sudden ending up in a place where they're kind of surprised that their situation does change? And now with that change, it's anxiety provoking because they weren't expecting to be there. They weren't expecting to reach their goal. And then now all of a sudden they have this success or they're in a different place in life. And now they're like, oh my God, how did I get here? I wasn't expecting this. I didn't think this was going to happen. And now because they didn't plan or think ahead, so now they're in this place where they're kind of behind the eight ball and living in this anxious world because they didn't plan ahead to get to that spot.
So your belief system hasn't caught up with your reality. And that is usually why people don't maintain their goals, is because their belief system hasn't caught up with their reality. So if you do a bunch of work to hit these big desires of yours and you do, and then you feel like you lose them really easy, that's
Mhm.
because your belief system hasn't matched up with your reality. And so it all comes down to your beliefs.
What is a way that people can really understand what their belief systems are, especially if it's something, if I heard you correctly, that you were saying is really something that tends to be a little bit more in the subconscious? How can we even go figure out what our belief system is to kind of then find out what things we have to change or tweak?
Yeah. So, an easy way to do it, if you have like absolutely no idea, is to start by writing some limiting behaviors you catch yourself doing.
Okay.
So, a limiting behavior could be, and I'm so guilty of this, scrolling social media for hours. My job is on social media, but another limiting behavior could be sleeping through alarm. Anything that you catch yourself doing, and this is an awareness exercise, it's not to shame yourself. So awareness is power. You can't change what you're not aware of.
Mhm.
And then from there, write down a goal that you want. So the goal of buying a rental property. And then you want to ask yourself, what is the limiting belief that I may or may not be aware of happening around this desire of mine? Is there a theme in my life? Is there a nagging voice in my head? Like, am I comparing myself to other people? Do I think that, oh, I don't have the means for it, or I'm not worthy enough, I'm not good enough? And you can kind of just sit with it and get really real with yourself.
Okay. A lot of our members, like I said, I feel like when I speak to them, it tends to come out that there's fear, right? They might have the education and the knowledge of what they actually need, but it tends to be fear that holds them back. A lot of times it will come back that when I ask them to dig a little bit deeper on that, it tends to be that they're fearful that they're going to lose money. They're fearful that they're going to fail. And it tends to be something that seems to be more associated, in my mind at least, of kind of that exterior appearance. I don't want other people to see me as a failure as well. And I feel like it kind of comes back to that confidence of the idea of, well, we have to put on that public persona, right? Or we have to build ourselves in a light of the way that other people see us. And to me, I feel like it comes back to a spot where we are not in a position to say, I feel confident that I can really go out and do this and I can be successful doing this. I feel like that is really kind of that limiting belief that I probably see the most.
Yeah. So another thing you can do is like, anything you're struggling with now, try to think of the source. So when was the first time that you struggled with this? And really going back to that and healing in the mindset life coaching world, we call it inner child, healing that inner child because any needs that were not met when we were
Mhm.
younger come out in weird tendencies as adults. If you felt like you weren't heard as a child,
Mhm.
you're going to be triggered whenever you don't feel heard as an adult.
Right. Like if you once again are lacking now in a confidence kind of space as an adult, that's either something that maybe you would not have been supported as much as you wish you had been as a child, or you didn't maybe get that support. You didn't hear those words. You didn't have people telling you, your parents telling you that they were proud of you and that, like, oh my God, look at what you accomplished. And really reconfirming the things that you had done to kind of pick you up and kind of bolster the fact that those are things that you can accomplish.
Yes. And so a lot of things with mindset is it's a lot of unlearning of things throughout the years that you've picked up beliefs that were never yours to begin with. So you can be reconnected to your authentic self and fully step into that confidence, let go of that fear and attract what it is that you want.
The another thing that I hear often, and I want to dive into this topic because I hear this so much, that I would like you to help me kind of get to maybe what a root cause could be of it. And then let's talk about how we can heal some of these things. But one of the other things, besides kind of that fear that I hear or not having confidence, one of the other things that I hear from a lot of women, especially those that are mothers, is saying that they want to get themselves back. Is that something that you feel like you have clients come to you with?
Yes. Especially since I've become a mother. That's a very popular thing. I heard this quote and it said, and I just really want to say this because I know it's going to help somebody, is you're never going to get yourself back because you're a completely new human. You're stronger than you ever were before you were a mother. And what you want back is a new normal and finding yourself within motherhood now. So, where a lot of women feel stuck is they are trying to get back to this past version of themselves that is completely different and you're completely changed and you're a lot stronger now. So, you just have to move forward and find your new normal.
I gotta be honest, that sounds like me trying to fit back into, like, the pants that, like, I fit into in, like, college.
Yes.
I'm not gonna get back to that. That's, a little bit of a reach, but hey, this could be, like, the new space that I can still feel comfortable and confident in. But sometimes there's just certain things that we just can't change and go back to. So, okay, so that
Yeah.
is a theme that you kinda hear too. What do you feel like is the root cause of that? I definitely hear once again you say, now we are different women now within motherhood. So it's finding kind of that new norm. But when it comes to that inner child there, how does that play out with finding that role within now being a new mother?
The limiting belief of wanting to get yourself back after motherhood is feeling so flustered. Having a newborn and caring for yourself is a lot. And I think every woman should feel seen in that statement and validated in that statement. It is a lot to handle, and that's okay. But wanting to get back there and the limiting belief rooted in would be maybe not feeling worthy enough, not feeling good enough in whatever area of your life because maybe you don't feel like you're doing enough as a mother. Maybe you don't feel like you're doing enough in your career to support your family. Maybe you don't feel like you're doing enough for yourself. And that's usually what it is. Maybe you haven't had as much time to
Mhm.
prioritize yourself. And that weighs heavy on us. When you don't prioritize yourself and make room for your needs,
Right.
it's hard.
Okay. Thank you. That helps kind of give me just an idea of those three scenarios that I tend to see often. So now that we've identified where where these thoughts are kind of coming from and what's kind of underlying really the issues that we're seeing kind of show up for us in adulthood, how do we start to kind of heal that?
First, you create awareness of what's going on in your head, and then you repeat things over and over and over and over to create these new neural pathways in your brain. And then you take intentional action. So, in regards to repeating things over and over and over, what I mean is implanting things on your subconscious mind that align with where you want to go. So whether that's listening to a podcast, whether that's listening to custom hypnotherapy, whether that's meditating daily, whether that's spending time in nature because it helps you relax and not overthink things for a few minutes. Whatever you need to do daily that supports
Hmm.
where you're going, that's going to create the new neural pathways in your brain. And then your subconscious mind is going to take intentional action when you feel great.
All right, let's stay with the intentional words for a second here. How often is someone supposed to do something like that? Like, is that something that I should commit to? Okay, 30 minutes a day of say like mantras over and over again, or spending time like meditating. Is this something I have to do every day, every week? What does that look like to really have success in changing our thought patterns?
This is my favorite question because I think people, when they first start their personal development journey, they need to do something for X amount of time every day. And the thing is you want these things to be more of a ritual. You don't want it to be a routine, right? Brushing your
Hmm.
teeth is a routine. You don't think when you brush your teeth. I want my clients to think and be mindful during these rituals. So it should never become a routine, something to just check off your list that you did it. It needs to be mindful, and that's the whole point of it. So it's really just about being intentional of making this change in your life.
So it's really just these small changes that kind of add up and really being intentional about how we're spending our time and the things that are running through our mind, correct?
Yes. And I might be wrong, but maybe a lot of your listeners are very black and white and want this answer. I need to do this, this, and this. And that's the thing about mindset coaching is learning to relax and surrendering into things that you can't see, like a higher power, the universe or God has got your back and letting go of some of that control. And it's hard to do that when you're a very black and white person.
As a person that you just identified, yes, absolutely agreed. It's very difficult sometimes to be able to kind of live in that gray space, especially for an extended period of time. I'll speak for myself in saying that that tends to be, for me, like at least very anxiety provoking to say, we don't really know what that looks like. To me, it's just easier to take control, say I'm going to do something, and at least make a decision or take an action rather than kind of living in that space. So that's very interesting that you said that. So that's something that I'm going to take from this call for me to focus on in what I want to see or how I focus and try to shift also what my thought patterns are. The third part that you said in there was about the idea of then taking intentional action. So now, once I kind of got through that awareness that we already spoke about, now I am focusing on that mindfulness and changing my thought patterns. What type of intentional actions should people try to then take next?
Yeah. So it's usually just the action steps you were taking before, but now you feel good, you feel confident, and you're putting out that energy. So you're going to receive it back and you'll have more awareness. So you're not going to make a to do list that's 20 steps long anymore. You know that you're going to be a lot more productive when you make a to do list that's 5 steps long and you crush each step kind of thing.
At what point or what sign can a woman kind of recognize that she had success in this and now feels different or has that different awareness from where she was before?
That's a really good question because again, it's not black and white and it's confusing because you can't just jump on a scale and be like, oh, I lost 5 pounds. I did
Right.
it.
Like I'm healed. Okay, done. We're good. Exactly.
Yeah. Like you can't really measure it. But one of the top things is you're able to breathe in situations that used to send you through a loop. Like one of the first signs I realized that I was healing and I was changing and I was very proud of myself was I got in a small car accident. Instead of having a panic attack and crying and freaking out all day, I just breathed through it and it's like, it's okay. Everything's fine. And so any situation that used to stress you out and you're able to just take a step back and breathe through it,
Hmm.
that's a huge sign that you've made a ton of change in your life.
That's really great. I like that idea of it because it's so recognizable and it's just such a small change that would make such a big difference in those situations, right? Because every single day we come across stressful situations, right? Regardless of even real estate investing, just every single day, there's so many decisions that have to be made, so many actions that have to happen, and so many situations that we kind of come across that just that idea of being a little bit more comfortable in your own skin to just be able to breathe and understand that you're going to be able to get through that situation. I think that in itself is just a huge relief that our listeners would really just like to be able to focus on to start with. Then start to kind of bring that out in some of the bigger situations, especially in real estate. So interesting. Okay. Any other action steps that you feel like someone can take to start to move past some of that fear or gain some confidence?
So it's called TIER. So it's
Mhm.
an acronym. So you would write TIER up and down, vertical on a page. And what it stands for is thoughts, emotions, actions, and results. So
Okay.
your thoughts create your emotions create your actions, and your actions create your results. So if you feel like you keep going and going and going and you're not hitting your goal and you keep having fear around all of this, go through this exercise. So first you would write any sort of negative thought that is overtaking your life. Any kind of negative thought that's recurring, right? Like you wake
Mhm.
up and you're like, I'm not going to get this or whatever. And then you would write what emotion comes up when this thought approaches. And so this is important because whenever you feel poorly, it's because of a thought that you had prior to feeling poorly. And so this is just dissecting it. So it's like what actions take place when you feel fear? What kind of results are you getting out of this thought pattern that isn't serving me? And then you can flip the script to shift your state. Let's say January 31st, 2024, and I'm so grateful. And then you talk about everything that happened that you're wanting to achieve, like it had already happened.
Gotcha. So then really you can take those prompts of what you wrote down within that and then say, well, how does that then look on the positive side? Correct?
Yes. So it's creating awareness of what's going on that isn't serving you, and then kind of shifting your state to this is what's going to happen. And I know I have that.
I feel like that's going to be a great action step that a lot of our listeners can take that they can start to really put down those thoughts and words to then start identifying where they're kind of getting hung up a little bit and what way to start focusing on those changes. So thank you for taking us through that acronym. I feel like you could do that exercise 1,000 times a day, right? With just so with
Right.
every little changing emotion or action that like I kind of
Yeah.
go through. But Katie, thank you very much. That's a huge help. Thank you for walking us through some great mindset tips and some ways that we can become really much more aware of where our beliefs are and be able to start shifting them for the new year. So thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me again.
For all of our listeners, please do make sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. We release new episodes every single Tuesday. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to leave a 5-star review and add some comments here so that way more women can find us and learn more about how to reach financial freedom through real estate investing. Thank you for listening to the Lady Landlords podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your real estate investing journey, visit lady-landlords.com to book a 15-minute orientation call with me and see if you're ready to join our mentorship program. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter and join our Facebook group for exclusive real estate investing tips and offers. Invest with confidence. Become a Lady Landlord today.